Alright guys, welcome back. This is Bad Senator. So today we're going to edit our predictions for the 2018 midterm elections in the Senate and state governorships. We're going to take a look at which candidates and which parties in each state are leaning and losing their lead, and where the race generally stands for control of the Senate. So let's start reading some states here. California, obviously safe blue. Washington, safe blue. Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar, way too popular for her to be elected out of office as the incumbent. Obviously, New Mexico is a very partisan state for the Democrats. Maine, Republicans fantasize about making that one competitive. Didn't happen. I never saw it happening in the first place. Even with Paul LePage, never would have happened. New Jersey, here's the interesting one here in New Jersey. I think Bob Menendez is actually in safe Democrat territory. People thought early on that Bob Menendez is in a scandal, so there's a chance he might not get reelected, and he was that likely Democrat for a while. But the scandal's really blown over. His approval ratings are getting higher, and that fact, combined with the fact that Bob Hugin is a pretty weak candidate, I think make this race safe Democrat for Bob Menendez in New Jersey, which is an exceedingly blue state. Obviously, other coastal states, Delaware and Maryland, are safe blue. Virginia, Tim Kaine, they're pretty popular, safe blue. Let's take a look at some safe red states here. There are only really five, safe races. Both Mississippi elections I see staying with the Republicans, as well as Wyoming and Utah. Now in Nebraska, I think this one's also safe Republican. Now, some people here are kind of excited about the Democrats' chances here. They think Jane Ablood, is going to win the party nomination in Nebraska. They're saying, oh, she might be able to win. No, it's not happening. It isn't happening, and here's why. Even in a blue wave year, which, by the way, I do have something to say about this wave being a blue wave year. I think that it may not end up being a blue wave year. But even if it is, Nebraska is still one of the most conservative states in the Union. And it's not going to flip just because it's a blue wave year. Well, some people argue that Jane Ablood's enough of a moderate to appeal to Nebraska voters and win the election. Again, I've looked at her campaign website. She doesn't really seem like a moderate that can appeal to Nebraska voters against Deb Fischer. And even if she was, she's not very high profile. And Democrats aren't going to spend a lot of money on this race to make her well known. So a lot of people are just going to vote Deb Fischer without thinking twice. Maybe is Jane Ablood, this Democrat candidate, actually a moderate that I can live with? No, they're not going to think twice about that because they'll never hear about her being moderate. So it's not going to happen in Nebraska. Unless the Democrats pour a huge sum of money into this race, then it won't happen. Which they won't put a lot of money into this race because it's a losing battle and they can win elsewhere. So that one is safe R for now. And those are all the safe Republican seats. Obviously, some likely Republican seats. Ted Cruz, I see being likely against Beto O'Rourke, just because of good Republican turnout in Texas during the primary. Now, some likely Democrat states. I think Tina Smith is likely as well. Minnesota is a blue state, even though it did almost go to Trump in 2016. It is blue at its core. Donald Trump was really the only person that could have made it that close. In a generic Republican versus generic Democrat matchup, the generic Democrat is almost always going to win. In Wisconsin, I actually think Tammy Baldwin is actually likely. A lot of people have this as leaning, and Republicans are focusing their eyes on this seat. But I think it's likely Democrat for two main reasons. Democrats are performing very well in special elections in Wisconsin. I believe a Democrat won the district Trump won by 15 points. Trump won this district by 15 points. He won it by double digits. And in the Wisconsin, Supreme Court election, the Liberal candidate won by double digits as well. So I think that is very good for Tammy Baldwin. And Wisconsin has a history of electing progressives like Tammy Baldwin, going all the way back to the progressive area almost 100 years ago. So I think Wisconsin's pretty safe for the Democrats. Not safe, likely. Pretty likely for the Democrats. Michigan, I think that one's actually safe. no good Republican candidate is going to challenge Mrs. Stabenow. In Pennsylvania, I think Bob Casey is likely as well. Lou Barletta, he's a relatively good Republican field, but the issue is Bob Casey is a really good fit for his state. He might not be popular, but he's a very good fit for his state when you look at his policy positions. He's a good fit for the Keystone State. So I think that will keep him in office, especially in the blue wave year of 2018. Okay, so these are the main toss-up states, I think. The toss-up states here are Montana, North Dakota, Nevada, Arizona, Missouri, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, Tennessee, and Florida. Hawaii should be safe blue. I don't know why I got to that earlier. So these are the races that are going to be very competitive. So let's go east to west here. Let's start in West Virginia. We're going to put West Virginia as lean Democrat. I think Joe Manchin here, again, like Bob Casey is to Pennsylvania, Joe Manchin's a very good fit for his state. And that plus the increasing possibility of Donald Blankenship being the Republican nominee, which would absolutely make this race pretty much safe because of his so scandalous history, put this race as lean Democrat for West Virginia. However, watch the primary in this one, though. The primary here is in 8 days, and that'll be a very interesting primary to watch. I like the state of Florida. I think Bill Nelson is slightly favored to win here. Rick Scott's popularity, I think, will keep decreasing, and Bill Nelson's will keep increasing prior to the midterms. The only reason Rick Scott has such a high approval rating is because of his amazing handling of the Hurricane Irma. And a lot of that's going to go away once, the election comes around and Bill Nelson campaign starts targeting what Rick Scott has done in his past that isn't really so savory. So I think that Bill Nelson has a lead here, especially in a pro-Democrat year as a moderate Democrat in a swing state. In Tennessee, I think Marsha Blackburn is still favored to win here. A lot of good polling has come out for Phil Bredesen lately. I still think that Marsha Blackburn, being a conservative, rallying the conservative base, will still be able to win here. Although this one is on the cusp of being lean Democrat. Ohio, I think that one is lean Democrat. Now I think this race is another one that's almost pure toss-up. Sherrod Brown here, he is a liberal, and, well, liberals, so here's the thing, the main misconception with the special elections is that liberal Democrats are doing well. It's not really liberal Democrats. Look at John Ossoff in Georgia. John Ossoff was a liberal Democrat, and he got wrecked by Karen Handel. So I think that it's more moderate Democrats that are doing well, and people still, even in the pro-Democrat environment, don't like the more liberal Democrats like Sherrod Brown. Of course, Sherrod Brown is the incumbent, and he is popular among some key demographics who'll need to win. And I think that keeps him in office, personally. And same thing next door in Indiana, Joe Donnelly, I think, is favored to win. Joe Donnelly is, like, a good fit for his state, similar to Bob Casey and Joe Manchin. And I think that'll keep him in office. And his main challengers aren't really popular. You have 2 representatives and one, I don't know who he is. Mike Braun, I don't know who he is, but they're not really popular. And I think that just keeps Joe Donnelly in office, although this one is also really close to toss-up. Missouri, on the other hand, I think leans the Republicans, and that gives them the control of the chamber. Missouri, I don't know, I think Claire McCaskill is too much of a liberal. I mean, she's definitely not as liberal as some other senators, but I think that she's just too much of a liberal for her to really win Missouri, especially with the big, top-notch Republican field of Josh Hawley. I think that Josh Hawley will win out in the end. And besides, he's going after Eric Greitens, like the Republican governor of Missouri, who's in a huge scandal right now, as the, I believe, Attorney General of Missouri. He's going after him hard. And that's going to provide a very good image for him. They'll be like, oh, look, this guy fought corruption and scandalism. Vote for him. He might do the same in Washington. That puts a very good image for him. And I think that even if, the very conservative members of his party that voted for Eric Greitens and really like Eric Greitens, even if he does that, they'll still vote for Josh Hawley out of a hatred for Claire McCaskill. So that's why I think Missouri will be in a Republican pickup. North Dakota, I also believe, will be a Republican pickup. The only thing Heidi Heitkamp has going for her at this point is her moderacy. She's a moderate. However, in state Trump won by 56 points. No, not that much. 46. I don't know. He won it really big. I think 40%. He won it by 40%. And I think that just a pure Democrat, a pro-Democrat year, alone, and Heidi Heitkamp's moderacy won't be able to save her from the large outside money Republicans are spending and the top-notch Republican field of Kevin Cramer. Montana, this is also the one that's really close. But I think Jon Tester is going to eke out a win here. This is a stark contrast to what I have been predicting up until now, which is where I thought the Republican will hold on to that seat. Jon Tester's approval rating has been increasing. I think the fact that is happening, plus the divided field of weak GOP potential nominees, is keeping Jon Tester the favorite to win in Montana. However, I will make a note that Jon Tester and Donald Trump are going through some tensions right now. And I would like to say, Jon Tester, Donald Trump is not an enemy you want to be making right now. Because if you make an enemy out of Donald Trump, then he'll campaign against you, and it's pretty much going to be over for you. So I think if this whole thing continues with the Trump-Tester tensions, I think that Jon Tester is pretty toast. Arizona, this one's actually really tricky. You have the primary. It's all going to depend on the primary, really. If Martha McSally wins the primary, she's going to win. If Ward or Arpaio wins the primary, Kirsten Sinema is going to win. Some recent polling has been very good for Kelly Ward. So I think that race very slightly leans in the Democrats' favor. In Nevada, I also think Nevada will also be Democrat flip. I think Dean Heller is unpopular. The state voted for Donald Trump, and Jackie Rosen's a pretty, well, I wouldn't say that, but Jackie Rosen is at least well known in areas she needs to win to become senator. But I think the seat will flip. However, this one's also very, very close. I mean, Jackie Rosen is the establishment Democrat who people don't really like, especially in the rural regions, not rural, I shouldn't say rural, the less populated regions of Nevada, who might vote for Dean Heller even though they don't like him anyway. So that's what I think is going to be likely happening in the Senate right now. 51 Republicans to 49 Democrats. However, what I will say is that if I am wrong, it's likely to break in favor of the Republicans, like Montana, Arizona, Nevada, Indiana, Ohio, Florida. There are just so many races that I'm only giving the Democrats the benefit of the doubt here, and they're very so slightly leaning in their favor. And it only takes a slight push for the Republican candidate in any of those states to make it favoring the Republicans. So I'd say that it's actually more likely to be 52-48 because there are so many states I have as Democrat favored that are just so barely Democrat favored. In fact, in a lot of these races, I'm just only giving them the benefit of the doubt because I know as a conservative, I may have a pro-Republican bias, so I'm just giving them the benefit of the doubt in a few of these races, and it could easily go the other way. And this is what the Congress would look like. 51 Republicans to 49 Democrats, with a likely 52nd Republican somewhere out here. And that's what I think would happen. 52-48. Senate, Republican favored, Republican controlled. Let's look at the governors now. Governors, let's do three-color map. Okay, there's obviously some states are going to be safe: Oregon, California, Hawaii. I think I don't see any of the Democrats getting the West Coast governorships except for Alaska. I think Alaska is lean Republican. Bill Walker is unpopular, and the vote will be split with the Democrat here. So I think that Alaska is leaning Republicans in favor there. Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maryland, we're going to rate these together because they're similar situations in these states. I think Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maryland, in all three of those races, you have likely Republican wins. Now, the situation here is similar. You have extremely popular Republican governors in these blue states. These states all voted for Barack Obama twice and Hillary Clinton once. But you have Republican candidates that are so popular in relatively weak Democrat fields that they're all likely Republican at this point. And any one of these could become safe Republican at any time. Maine, Democrats are favored to pick up that state because Paul LePage is gone and he wasn't popular, and Democrats have put up some strong candidates, and Republicans relatively have weaker candidates. Maine is a blue voting history. All of the stuff in Maine generally favors the Democrat. Illinois, I also think their Democrats are going to flip here. Pritzker, not the most popular candidate on the Democrat side, but I think he will beat Bruce Rauner because Bruce Rauner is also unpopular and it's a blue state. However, J.B. Pritzker, it all depends on how much the Democrats can unify around Pritzker. Because, if Pritzker can't get the more liberal members of his party to vote for him, the more progressives, then he's probably going to be toast against the more moderate Bruce Rauner. Let's say New Mexico. I think that one is actually likely Democrat to pick up. Susana Martinez here again is unpopular. It's an open seat. The Democrats put a really strong candidate up in Michelle Lujan Grisham. And I think that combined with the pro-Democrat year, the bad Republican candidate, he has a plagiarism scandal, the not very popular Republican governor leaving a bad taste of Republicans in the mouth of New Mexicans, and the pro-Democrat year all make this likely Democrat. Iowa, I think that one is actually likely. Kim Reynolds is pretty popular there, and as a new governor, a new fresh face, I don't see her losing. Georgia, same thing here. You have Nathan Deal, who's pretty popular. And Casey Kegel, the lieutenant governor, I don't see him losing. He's a pretty strong candidate. And there's a fractured Democratic base between the two Stacys. I think both the Stacey Evans and Stacey Abrams, are way too progressive to win in deep red Georgia. Let's see, Arizona, I think that one's only lean Republican. Doug Ducey here is unpopular, and the state has a high Latino population, and that could really make wonders happen here for the Democrats. But again, Arizona is still traditionally Republican, and Doug Ducey is the incumbent, and Democrats haven't really put up that strong of a candidate. So it's only lean Republican for now. A lot of people here have it as likely, I have it as lean, because the high minority population in Arizona and Doug Ducey's unpopularness. Kansas and Oklahoma, you have similar situations in these states. I think they're both likely Republican. They're not safe Republican. And the reason is you have unpopular governors. In Kansas, you had Samuel Brown back. Oklahoma, you have Mary Fallin. But those two governors aren't running. They aren't running. Sam Brown back would have been term limited anyway, but he got appointed into a position, I believe, ambassador of religious freedom. And Mary Fallin's term limited in Oklahoma. And obviously the teachers' strikes in Oklahoma aren't helping Mary Fallin a bit in the Republican Party. But again, they are still Kansas and Oklahoma. And the fact they have new Republican faces that aren't these unpopular governors put them in likely Republican territory and relatively weak Democrat fields. I'll put them in likely Republican. Ohio here, that one's lean Republican. It's lean Republican because Mike DeWine here, well known across the state. Ohio went for Trump by 8 points, and the Democrat nominee Dick Cordray is, again, too much of a progressive to really win in Ohio. Rhode Island, that one's only lean Democrat, I think. A lot of people has it as likely, but this is looking like it's going to be a rematch between Gina Raimondo and Alan Fung. And Alan Fung really came close to beating Gina Raimondo. In 2014, the only reason he lost was because the third-party candidate, Bob Healy, split the vote. Bob Healy was the reason Alan Fung lost in 2014. Now, in 2018, with Gina Raimondo on the chopping block again, and Alan Fung running against her with no major third-party candidate, Raimondo's only gotten less popular, and while there may be a blue wave elsewhere, it's looking like right now there's going to be a red wave, at least in the Northeast, it's looking like Republicans are going to be pretty favored there, especially in New England. So I think all that leads to Rhode Island being lean Democrat and Connecticut being lean Republican. Mark Bowden here, the likely Republican nominee, is a very good candidate who can appeal to a wide range of voters who are unsatisfied with the job Democrats have done in the state. People will be like, oh, Democrats here are ruining the state. And they're going to unite behind Mark Bowden, who has appealed with a lot of them. They'll vote out against Democrat in large numbers. Pennsylvania, I see as lean Democrat. Some have it as likely. None of the polling here shows Tom Wolf over 50%, though. So I think this definitely is still anyone's race. Tom Wolf is the incumbent in a state that Trump won, but it's been traditionally blue. And no real Republican candidate. A few weak fields that aren't really well known across the state are in contention for their primary here. But so I think that's still lean Democrat. Wisconsin, I think this race is almost pure toss-up. Wisconsin here, it's almost pure toss-up. Scott Walker, not that popular. And Republicans, I believe, being special election after special election up here. So things aren't looking good for him. But he's the incumbent, and he has a very conservative positions. So he will rally the Republican voters to vote out for him, or to vote for him. And I think that just because of his incumbency and his ability to rally the base puts him slightly ahead. Michigan and Minnesota, though, not so much. Michigan and Minnesota have unpopular Republican governor in Michigan and a popular one in Minnesota. And they'll all rally the Democrat base in those states. And you have strong Republican fields, though, which I'll give them credit for. In Minnesota, you have Tim Pawlenty, the former governor. And in Michigan, I believe you had the state treasurer, I think, running there. So, Republicans have put up good candidates, which is keeping them in contention here. I think Minnesota and Michigan and Wisconsin are three of the most toss-up races of the cycle. But I think the pro-Democrat year puts the Democrats over the top in Minnesota and Michigan. Colorado is lean Democrat. I think John Hickenlooper has done a lot for his state, and he is popular. And he will rally the Democrat base to voting Democrat against the strong Republican field in Colorado. Now the other toss-up states, Florida and Nevada, I think these races are also pretty pure toss-up. However, just because it is a pro-Democrat year, and again, like I said earlier, I have a pro-Republican bias, we're going to give them both to the Democrats. One of the rules I've looked back on, and I look at Larry Sabato's crystal ball a lot and some other pundits, I always see them overestimating Democrat odds in Republican-favored years. Like, Larry Sabato's crystal ball predicted Kay Hagan would win another term in North Carolina, which didn't happen. And I say, whenever there's a state that's a pure toss-up in Senate or governor race, you always give it to the party that is favored in this election cycle. In this case, that's the Democrats. So we're going to give Nevada and Florida to the Democrats. Let's take a look at the map of 2019 governors by party. As we can see here, a lot of Democrat governors in blue states and in red states, and a lot of Republican governors in blue states, but it'd be 29 Republicans and 21 Democrats. Democrats getting a net gain of 5 governorships, which would be pretty big. Their largest gain in years since 2006, so in almost a decade. However, I also think that in Mississippi, the 2019 election there, I think Jim Hood, if he runs, will flip that seat. His blue dog appeal in the South and the riled up rally Democrat base, especially the high African American base there in Mississippi, will flip that state. And I think the same reasons will apply to John Bel Edwards and get him reelected in Louisiana. Kentucky, not so much. So I think by 2020, we're going to see 22 Democrat governors and 28 Republican governors. Thanks for watching. Bye.